Hare Krishna, welcome everyone. On today's Bhagavat class, this is part of the Bhagavat Life program, and we are continuing to read the here of third canto, chapter number 29, verse number 36, and also covered chapter number 30, first 18 verses. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srityanam Chevanam Devit Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Nachaprayeshu Tantreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatam Shloke Bhakti Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Govindaya Namo. Tasmai Shri Chaitanya Manobishna Savitam Swayam Rupa Shri Guru Shri Yudavarakamanam Shri Guru Vaishnava Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahajananatam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijanam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Shri Krishna Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Ashatadi Shatani Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Kadayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gautasena Vanchakalpatarum Yasha Kapam Patitanam Bhavane Vaishnavi Krishna Parahasi Devandu Jagarvate Gopesha Gopika Tatatatatam Sharanurani Radhe Vrindaveshwari Vishwamate Pranamami Harine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gauravari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Happy Independence Day or Republic Day? Independence. Sorry for my poor education, general knowledge. Yeah, happy Independence Day. So today we're going to speak about our Independence Day on the occasion of 15th August from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, 29th chapter, verse number 36, as spoken by Kapila. So today we're going to have two themes for discussion. These are nothing but questions asked by Madan and that aligns very well with today's celebration. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. All right, I was just saying today we are celebrating Independence Day and we'll try to understand the true import and purport of today's celebration from Lord Kapila Dev. Mother Devati had asked a series of questions which we were discussing in 29th chapter in the last two sessions. One was about bhakti. After describing Ashtanga Yoga, the path of mystic yoga, Mother Devati asked, please tell me now the culmination of yoga process, that is Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga was described in the last session. We talked about while we are practicing Bhakti Yoga, which is the highest path, we need to be alerted, careful about aparadhs, offenses. And that was more or less Jiva Himsa, which was discussed, being disrespectful for the living entities. And all of us will be amazed. With time, we'll understand how we actually had conducted Jiva Himsa. And for all the while, we were thinking, oh, we just don't commit any aparadh. We are offenseless. Time is only separating us from this reality. And then the next question was about time factor. That is what we're going to read today. And prior to that, last week, we also talked about the varieties of living entities in which there are animate and inanimate, living and dead. And then among living, there is what we call as still, moving, and non-moving. And then under moving, the quadrupeds, centipede, all those kind of living entities. And finally, there's a human species among human species. And there was Varnas, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. And among the four Varnas, Brahmana is said to be the highest. Among the Brahmanas, one who knows the absolute truth, who is known as Vaishnava, is the highest. That was the whole discussion. And finally, we got to know that how handful people in this world actually are properly situated. So that was our discussion to last week from the 29th chapter. That was just a recap. 35th verse was a homework for all of you to read. I read the translation. My dear mother, O daughter of Manu, a devotee who applies the science of devotional service and mystic yoga in this way can achieve the abode of the Supreme Person simply by that devotional service. We'll need, for everyone to see. Or otherwise, if you have your laptop or else you have your smartphone, you can read the verses. Otherwise, if you don't have the visibility, you get spaced out because we are having a kind of overview session. Text number 36 is what we're going to read here. एतत् भगवतो रूपं ब्रह्मणा परमात्मनः परं प्रधानं पुरुषं दैवं कर्मा विचेष्टितम्. Translation: this Purusha whom the individual soul must approach is the eternal form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as Brahman as well as Paramatma. Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavaniti, Shabdate. He is the transcendental chief personalities and his activities are all spiritual. Like that has been discussed. So this is the basic fundamental truth that we have discussed in the past. Hare Krishna. अभी आप लोग बैठ जाओ. Don't make movements around me. You're going to stay disturbed and I'll get distracted. All of you can take out your smartphone. You can find the verses there. Vedabase to sabke paas hoga. If not, open the Vedabase and browse it. All right. So this concludes our about Bhakti Yoga discussion. Let's begin with the discussion that we have now. Text number 37. Kala. So what is the definition of Kal? Anyone would like to explain Kala or time factor in your terms? Oh, my laptop is saying Kala is 8 a.m. Bhagavat life reminder. Okay, that is my Android operating system reminding me. What is Kala? Anyone like to say? Any online devotees? How would you define Kala? Any thoughts onto it? Then I would like to quote Vidurji from Mahabharata. How did he define what Kala is? And then we'll take a look. Anything Abhishek can monitor online? If there is anyone who wants to answer. All right. If I give you this answer, then more or less, I don't know what else would you have. So please write down. Vidura speaks to the king. Today's discussion is what we're going to have. Please switch on more lights. Yeah, light band kar di. Switch on this light. And some of you are sitting on the corner. Can you come here and here? Because when you're sitting at far off, then I have to really amplify my voice. And the whole day I speak, so it becomes very painful for me. All of you can move forwards. As a speaker, we have to really strain our voice otherwise. There's space here. Some of you can move here. All right. So please write down. So today we're going to have discussion of two things. One is Kala factor and other is Samsara, which was another question of Mother Devhuti. Some very interesting things. So let's write down what is first definition of Kal according to Vidurji. This is three Parvas, second chapter, verse number 22 of Three Parva. I'll say the Sanskrit. You don't have to necessarily write the Sanskrit, but I'll give you the translation. Kalaha pachati bhutani, kalaha sangrate prajaha, kalaha sukteshu jagrati, kalohi durati kramaha. To give you just a context, what is Three Parva of Mahabharata? This is the most emotional and the painful section of Mahabharata. Three Parva refers to that part of Mahabharata. After post-war, all the men have died. What is remaining behind is only ladies. And now all the ladies come with their dependents like son and daughters and the old parents to the battlefield to look at the condition of their husbands, sons, and brothers. And now in this whole Three Parva, they just cry. It's a very, very painful. What happens after war is what is being described here. And at that point of time, in this, Vidurji is talking about Kalha to all these ladies, which are in crores. They're standing there. It's like trying to explain them. With time, everything has to destroy. And very profound thing is here. So understanding the context, situation, Vidurji speaking, so you can understand the gravity of the statement. And Vidurji makes four qualities or characteristics of Kal. Then we'll take a look at Kapil Dev because he's summarizing on it. Kalaha pachati bhutani. Everything. Kala pachati is digest. Bhutani means living entity. Kala samharte prajaha. Kala destroy. Praja means all living beings. Kalaha supteshu jagrati. When you are sleeping, Kala is awake, which means Kala never sleeps, so Kala never takes a break. Kalo hi durti kramaha. Oh, ladies, nobody can conquer Kala. Nobody can. Or Kala is unsurmountable. Nobody can transgress. And therefore, Chanakya Pandit said, even a moment past cannot be purchased by any amount of wealth. And Bhagavad Gita defines Kala means the Supreme Personality Godhead. Now, Kapil Dev here in this section, when he will talk about Kala, this as a foundation of Kala. Four things: Kala pachati bhutani, Kala sangrate pajaha, Kalaha sukteshu jagrati, Kalohi durati kramaha. After describing four things, now when Lord Kapil Dev will speak about Kala, in one verse he'll describe the characteristic, and from the second verse he'll say Kala means Vishnu, and then he'll talk about the destructive potency of Vishnu. That's how the series of verses goes. Let's take a look at it. Text number 37. Rupa Vedaspradam Divyam Kala iti abhidhiyate bhutanam hadadinam yadvinna darsham bhayam. A second. Where is my Zoom? Yeah. And I would wish to have some question answers on this because this is very something which we have all had an experience of it. So we'll see how to understand this. So, okay, I'll not go too much in Sanskrit, it'll take too much time. But a little bit. Rupa bhedaspadam divyam. So, jitna bhi roop mein parivartan aata hai, as Krishna says, what is that? The second chapter, verse number 13, how is that? Dehusmin yatha dehe kamaram yavanam. So you see, Dehinasmin yatha dehe kamaram. You're born as a toddler, then you grow as a teenage, then you become a middle-aged man, then you become an old-age man. Just for a second, reflect. How much have we changed? If somebody has to bring your childhood photograph, and imagine if you have not ever seen your childhood photograph, how many of you agree you'll fail to recognize yourself? Please raise your hand.
This is what it's saying. Rupa Bheda Spadam Divyam. We have changed, but yet we are attached to things which is changing, which is the body, which is always changing. That is the first point. The time factor causes the transformation of the various material manifestation. काला इति अभिधीयते, उसको काल कहा जाता है. भूतानाम अदादीनाम, भूतानाम, is another. Bhutanam Mahad Adinam, beginning with Lord Brahma. For everyone it brings a change. Yato Bhinna Dasham Bhayam. And Bhinna Dasham, Bhinna Dasham. Drasham means drashti, Bhinna means separated. One who does not understand the time as the energy of the Lord, Yato Bhinna Dasham Bhayam, would always be overtaken by fear. 2 points, please write down. Huh? First is time factor brings about transformation. And for that I quoted, Dehinusmin yatha dehe kamaram yavanam ja. You getting it? Dehinus means, so your body is changing. And I gave an example. Can you remember or if I bring a photo, if you have not seen your child photo, none of us will remember a child photo. Second thing, Kapil Dev says, after describing Stri Parva, Viduruniti, I'm coming to Kapil Dev. Second thing Kapil Dev says, not only it brings transformation to the matter, it makes one fearful. One who has Bhinna Dasham, one who does not see the connection between the time factor and the Lord, he would be overtaken by fear. Last time, Ashish Prabhu and I were talking about impersonalists. We're making a point. Sadhguru, other things we were talking about. And we were talking about whether Medhavni was giving an example of our Bhakti Swami Maharaj, his own Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. And then I was giving an example of Srila Prabhupada. We saw how he battled death. There's a video of how he dealt with the death. And Bhagavatam we are reading is about how Parikshit Maharaj dealt with death. Was there any fear at the face of Parikshit Maharaj when he was sitting? Was there any fear for Srila Prabhupada knowing very well that I'm going to quit my body? Was there any fear? Was there any fear with Bhakti Swami Maharaj? Or even Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, who is almost on the verge? In fact, doctors proclaimed 15 years ago that he cannot survive. Yet he has survived defeated death in many ways like that. Point is, we have so many living examples and the historical examples that says those who understood Krishna overcame fear. And those who failed to understand Krishna, how much advanced yogi they would have been. At the face of death, they would have cried and they would have passed stool and urine as anyone and everyone does, regardless of how great yogi they would have been. Except, of course, yogis, they would have that. If they are Brahman situated, they would be able to transcend that situation. But that's the point which is mentioned here. That's the first point. Let's go to text number 38 now. Therefore, now with this vision, with this history, if you look around the world, you will see how people become fearful. And the subject matter of life and death is discussed, isn't it? It's only how many of you agree after coming to, let's say, precisely ISKCON, there are many cultural shocks you would have got after coming to Krishna consciousness. And one of the culture shock, as much as the culture shock is how we celebrate birthday, far greater culture shock had been that we celebrate death anniversary also. Isn't it? Now, in our tradition and culture, death anniversary is celebrated. अपनी भी तेरवी होती है ना, जब चले जाते हैं रिश्तेदार, हर साल का एनिवर्सरी होता है, फूल माला चढ़ाई जाती है, प्रसाद वितरण होता है, ऐसा सेलिब्रेशन काइंड ऑफ थिंग. पर हमारे यहाँ तो उस व्यक्ति को याद करके उसको भोगार्पण करा जाता है, कीर्तन गाया जाता है, डांस किया जाता है. सामने वाला सोचेगा ये जन्मदिन है, डेथ एनिवर्सरी है. विल बी सरप्राइजिंग और नॉट? Because our context and our understanding of life and death is altogether different. Therefore, we are trained to become, or we are trained to give up fear when it comes to the subject matter of death, because we are sure what happens after death. Fear is only because of uncertainty. Mera aage kya hoga? And the classic example is the COVID. Was everyone fearful during COVID? Yes or no? And was everyone fearful just because of one thing? Uncertainty. How does COVID spread? Nobody knew. Now, is COVID today in the ether? Is today COVID present? You are sitting without mask? You are sitting with full confidence? Because you know that how COVID spreads today. That's the thing. Of course, you can say, Puji, I've got that second dosage also. But I hope you're getting the point here a little bit. Text number 38. Yuvanta pravishya bhutani bhute rati akhilashraya sa vishnu akhya adhyagno sau kala kalyatam prabhu Lord Vishnu. So now Lord Vishnu subject matter comes. Who is in jar of all sacrifice, the time factor, the master of all mastery, enters everyone's heart. He's a support of everyone, and he causes every being to be annihilated by another. So this is third point which you want to write. It is Lord Vishnu who orchestrate annihilation of one living entity by another living entity. This is not brutality, this is not cruelty, this is the law of nature. Ahastani sahasranam apadami chatuspadam falguni tatra mahatam jivasya jivanam. Which means when it is said, Kahala kalyatam prabhu, of course, Krishna is the master of all, in that sense is mentioned, but when it is said, he causes every being to be annihilated by another, nobody can defeat death, how much ever the science promises that we will be able to overcome death. It is not possible. The system is designed in such a way, whatever you do by hook and crook, you will ultimately be defeated and will be killed. That is called as Kala. Kala has two meanings. I have described this before. Kala means time, Kala means death. So, as sure as death, as they say. Text number 39. Na chasya kashya daito, na dvishya na cha bandhava, avishyati apramatto pramattam janma antakrit. No one is dear to the Supreme Personality Godhead, nor is anyone his enemy or friend. Sama sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labate param. This is from Bhagavad Gita. But he gives inspiration to those who have not forgotten him and destroys those who have. So, what does it mean? Here, Lord Kapila is saying, Lord is equal to all, which means the law will be applicable to everyone. Which means even if you're a devotee, body is going to get destroyed, body is going to get decayed, body is going to become dilapidated, and eventually body is going to die. There's no challenge on this thing. So then how does the second line say, but he gives inspiration to those who have not forgotten him and destroys those who have? What means? It means samsara chakra. We're soon going to come to the subject matter of samsara, which means those who remember him, for him, he destroys samsara. And for those who have not, or those who do not remember him, or those who are living on to their life, which will be described in the following section, to them, he destroys means whatever they have accumulated, whatever prestige they have gained, whatever degrees they have collected, whatever wealth, whatever opulence, whatever properties they have got, all is destroyed for him, because after that he cannot take anything. Are you getting it? Everything is left behind. That is what is destroyed for them. But what is destroyed for devotees? Samsara. A karma is destroyed for the devotees, and that is how he gets the true independence, because he has taken shelter of the Lord. Devi yeshu gunamayi mamamaya, mamevaye prapadyante. That's the way of mukti, liberation or independence. Text number 40. Very beautiful section now. Text number 40 to 44. Now, Kapil Dev will say, so you wrote the fourth point. What is destruction for a devotee and non-devotee? देखा? सुनो मत तुम लोग कुछ याद नहीं रहता. I'm going to give you 10 points today. Write down. Fourth point is, what is destruction for a devotee and a destruction for a non-devotee. This is the one exclusive section for Srimad Bhagavatam about Kala. उसको लिख लीजिए काल क्या है. All right. Now from verse number 40 onwards, very beautiful section. This is something similar to Bhagavad Gita. Well, let me ask all of you if you know that or not. All our Bhakti Shastri participants, lovers of Bhagavad Gita, will have this question for you. But before that, let me just tell you what the section. So from verse number 40 to 44, now Kapil Dev is going to say that how everything in this creation is functioning under the influence of time. And how does time function? Time controls everything. This is your fifth point. See if it makes sense or not. Time controls everything by fear. Everything happens by fear. Therefore, in 11th canto, when the nature of this world is being described, it is said it is a place of fear. Now, let me ask you, did you go to school because of fear? माँ बाप मारेंगे वरना टीचर मारेंगे. Yes or no? Did you study out of fear? If I don't study, I will not get a job. I will not be able to get married. I don't know if that was a goal, but I will not be able to make bread and butter. Was there a fear? Now, do you go to job out of fear? If I don't go, I'll get fired. Now, do you eat out of fear? Do you sleep out of fear? If I don't eat, what about my nutrition? Now, superficially, the facade could be that I like eating, nidar bhai main that's okay. But is there an inherent fear in everything? Now, anything that you do is driven by fear. So, Kala controls us by fear. Now, we'll see how fear manifests in the nature. Getting it? That's the fifth point. Let's take a look at the 40th verse. Now, from here, everything you see in context of fear. Yad bhayat, fear. Vati vato yam. What is vat? Kapha pitta vat. Let's do Sanskrit. Vat means air. So your air blows out of the fear of Kalaha. Otherwise, air will not blow. Who's controlling the air? Why air has to blow always? It is because of the fear of Kala. Yad bhayat vati vato yam surya stapati yad bhayat. How does the sunshine has to happen? Why does the sun has to rise up every morning? Out of the fear of Kalaha. Yad bhayad varshate devo. Why the monsoon season has to come and why the clouds have to rain? Out of the fear of Kalaha. Bhadgano bhati yad bhayad. Bhagano, not bhad. Bhagano bhati yad bhayad. This refers to Bhagano means other devatas, they perform their duties because of fear of Kala. Who is Kala? Vishnu. So which means Vishnu is the supreme organizer or manager or controller. Out of fear of him, everyone is doing their duty. Now my question here is, you may say, Prabhuji, why fear? If there is no fear of losing job, if there is no fear of manager, how many of you agree that you may decide not to go to office and just work permanently from home? How many of you agree? Okay, how many of you agree if there is no fear of manager, etc., etc., you might not even work for more than 4 hours per day? Life में वैसे भी बहुत कुछ करने को है ना? Are you getting it? This is the inherent nature. Similarly, for the devatas, if there is no fear component, they will not be able to perform their responsibility. So fear, this is how the time function. Time function means Lord. This was the fifth point, right? We wrote about the nature of the time. A lot of time people ask, what is the nature of the time? We're discussing that. Text number 41. Yad vanaspatayo bhita lata chaushadabhi saha sway sway kale vigrananti pushpani cha falani cha. वनस्पति पेड़ पौधे औषधि स्वय से काले अभिग्रंथि अपने समय समय पर पुष्पानी फूल और फल देते हैं. Out of fear of the supreme person, the trees, people's house, season plants, flower, blossom, fructify each in its own season. The next time when you see a flower, Vishnu ka dhapai hai. This is how the universal law functions. Text number 42. Shavanti sarito bhita nosparati udadhiryatah agnir indhe sagiribhir dhurna majjati yadbhayat. Sarita. Sarita means nadi. Nadi behti hai bhita, out of fear. Na usparati udadhiryatah. So nadi behti hai out of fear. Ocean which is full of so much water does not overflow out of fear. I mean, Nadi is still a shallow river, isn't it? How much water is in the ocean? Who is stopping the ocean from overflowing? हल्का सा इधर टिल्ट कर दो, अब बाल्टी में पानी भरते हो आप, हल्का सा बाल्टी को टिल्ट करो, ओवरफ्लो होता है. हल्का सा जमीन को, and that too our earth is rotating, always tilting. Who protects from the ocean? Yes or no? Think about it. Earth is rotating now. So who is protecting the ocean from overflowing? That is what Kapila is saying. Agnirinde cha giribhir sa giribhir. Agnirinde, which means the light burns, the fire burns, the fear of Kalaha. And now very interesting. Sa giribhir dhur na majjati yadbhayat. What a burden earth is carrying. Has a burden of Sa giribhir. Huge celebrated Himalayas. Usme Mount Everest. You take one stone, or let's say you take one brick, is heavy. You carry 10 bricks. It will be very heavy. Even an 80 kg fellow cannot hold 20 kg weight. Yes? And here Kapila is saying, how planet Earth, which is floating in the sky, what is the shelter of the Earth? There is no shelter. ऐसा तो नहीं किसी ने छड़ी लगा रखी Earth के नीचे. Which is flying in the sky, floating in the sky, and having such a weight of mountains. Not the weight of mountains. Water also has weight. Oceans, what is holding planet Earth in its orbit, in its position, out of fear of Vishnu. This is called a Shastra study. Imagine if we teach this in our school, would everyone become God conscious or not? Would be forced to think, yeah, there has to be God, otherwise how it can happen? Text number 43. Na bodadati sorry. Na bodadati swashatam padam yan yamadadha lokam swadeham tanute maham saptabhir avratam. Subject to the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, so ye float to ho raha hai. But look at the sky. The sky allows outer space to accommodate all the various planets. The sky can come and say, "Na, you're not paying any rent." How much rent have you paid to the earth and to the sky? You pay rent, right? Kapila is saying, look, why sky is accommodating all the planets? Sky is accommodating, isn't it? When you look in the night sky, you see so many planets, so many stars. So sky is accommodating. Why is sky accommodating? So Kapila says sky is accommodating all that, all the various planets, and which holds innumerable living entities out of fear of Kala, which means Vishnu. The total universal body expands with 7 coverings under his spiritual, under his supreme power. That's all right. Now, text number 44. Gunabhimanino deva sargadishu asya yadbhayat vartante anu yugam yesha vash eta characharam. You see the word bhayat. Out of fear of the Supreme Personality of God, the directing demigods in charge of the modes of material nature carry out the functions of creation, maintenance, and destruction. Everything animates and inanimate within this material world is under their control. So, how it is the function of creation, maintenance, and destruction are carried out by the demigods? Demigods do that? Who does it? Who does creation? Who does maintenance? Who does destruction?
Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara.
Yes, this is Trinity. So why demigods are being mentioned here? So we'll read about dissolution in the 11th canto. There are 4 types or 5 types of dissolution. 4 types. One is Nitya. Now, Nitya destruction refers to death. So a living entity dying and taking birth. That is done by Devatas. It's not Vishnu directly orchestrating that. Delegated authority is Vishnu, and delegation is done to a Devata. Similarly, different kind of annihilation. So there are 2 main annihilation which is being described. One annihilation that happens at the end of Brahma's life, where everything goes back into the body of Mahavishnu. And second annihilation is at the night of Brahma. These annihilations is being orchestrated by Lord Shiva. Everything else in between is being done by Devatas. Just like at the change of every Chatur Yuga, they say, what do you call it? Divya Yuga. They're said to be a partial destruction. In fact, they said every change of Yuga, which is Kali Yuga, Dwapar to Kali Yuga, there is also a partial destruction like that. That is being described here. So until 44 verse, everything that is happening around us, which we were thought is happening randomly on its own, has no basis. Kapila says everything is happening because of the fear of Lord Vishnu. Otherwise, it will not happen. And to help you understand, I said, how much ever responsible person you would have been, if there is no fear, you'll also become lazy and you'll also give up your duty. Because the nature of this world is to get distracted. So that's the reason every morning sun rises, that's the reason. Therefore, every season changes because of Kala or Vishnu. Fine. Let's go to text number 245. So we have discussed 5 characteristics of time. 4 more characteristics will come ahead. 45th verse, the last verse of this chapter. So ananto karha kalo anadiradi krat avya janam janena janayan maryan mrityu antakam. The eternal time factor has no beginning and no end, right? Because that's the energy of the Lord. It is a representative of the Supreme Personality God, maker of the criminal world. Interesting proposite, maker of the criminal world. Okay. The verse doesn't say like that. Verse says Adikrat, the creator. Prabhupada says this world is a prison house. It brings about the end of the phenomenal world. It carries on the work of creation by bringing one individual into existence from another. And likewise, it dissolves the universe by destroying even the Lord of death. Yamraj. Purport. Would anyone like to read the purport among the online audience? By the influence of eternal time.
Can I read, Prabhu?
Yes.
Hare Krishna. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. By the influence of eternal time, which is a representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Father begets a Son, and the Father dies by the influence of cruel death. But by time's influence, even the Lord of cruel death is killed. In other words, all the demigods within the material world are temporary, like ourselves. Our lives last for 100 years at the most. And similarly, although their lives may last for millions and billions of years, the demigods are not eternal. No one can live within this material world eternally. The phenomenal world is created, maintained, and destroyed by the finger signal of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, a devotee does not desire anything in this material world. A devotee desires only to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This servitude exists eternally. The Lord exists eternally. His servitor exists eternally. And the service exists eternally. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
The purport to the third canto, 29th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Explanation of Devotional Service by Lord Kapila. Thank you, Danat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. So, what are the characteristics of time we have discussed so far? Somebody go ahead quickly. Transformation. What was the transformation? The material body is changing. Next. Destroys everything. Okay. Third. You're talking Vidur. I'm talking the four things, five things that I spoke from Kapil Dev. Third.
It's Lord Vishnu. It's Lord Vishnu.
It's Lord Vishnu. Okay. Kala drives out of fear. Time controls fear. That was the fifth point. And then we discussed verse number 40 to 44. Huh? What is the third and the fourth point? One person, go ahead.
Third one is Lord Vishnu, he causes every being to be annihilated by another.
Yeah, that was the third point. What is the third point? It is the Lord Vishnu, his energy through which he destroys one living entity through another living entity. And that's the time we spoke about death. That what's the perspective of death? All right, fine. Let's go to chapter number 30. Chapter number 30 is small, has 34 verses. And this chapter is all about samsara. This is, I would say, it's a very important chapter which can be read at a time if in case you're getting too much attached to material body or worldly life. In case if you think you're getting distracted, not this, after Janmashtami I'm starting this Bhakti Vaibhav, so I'm going to give you hints for every chapter. There's a particular chapter that can be read at a particular time of your life and we can mark it for ourselves. So there's one chapter which in case you think you're getting too much driven by passion, too much driven by desires, too much caught up with worldly life, you can come back and read this chapter and see if it makes sense or not. It all talks about samsara. It has two sections. First 1 to 18 verses talks about the life of a materialist and his or her death. And then text number 19 to text number 34 talks about his meeting with Yamraj. All right, so little horror movie at the end. So we'll not have time to go through the whole meeting with Yamraj. We'll talk about the first 18 verses. All right, text number 1. The time factor continues. Kapila Vacha tasya janonunam naya vedoro vikramam kalyamano pibalino vayuriva ganavalihi. Very beautiful thing. Please write on the 6 characteristic of time. Not necessarily 6 characteristics of time, but more or less related. Vayu Eva Ghanavalihi. This is the second time this particular line is being repeated in Srimad Bhagavatam. This was repeated by Bhishma Pitamaha while Bhishma Pitamaha was speaking with Yudhishthira in the first canto. And there also he speaks something about like this. He also says, so Yudhishthira came in front of Bhishma Pitamaha and, Bhishma Pitamaha said, oh, Yudhishthira, oh, Pandava, so many, unforeseen things have happened with you, And then he says, the only reason for all your sufferings in your life is Kala. The same verse is over here, but in a different context. And that verse also concludes with Vayu Eva Ghanavali. Kala, time factor, controls everything. And it controls, so okay, let me put it this way. Now, if how many you have an experience if a manager is controlling you, you get an experience, you know that manager is controlling me. You know, within the family situation, if a husband tries to control wife, wife controls try to control husband, or the kids try to, you get the idea about it. Anyone tries to control us, we get an idea. Now, here's the beauty of time. Time controls us 24/7 all through our life, yet you can never figure it out. This is what this verse is saying. Vayu Riva Ghanavali, and example is given, analogy given by Kapil Dev. Just like you see the clouds in the sky, they're tons, they're hundreds and thousands and millions of tons of weight, but they're floating in the sky, being carried by the wind, you know, what do you say, flawlessly, and the clouds never realize how are they moving. Similarly, we never realize how Kala is bringing us to destruction, how Kala is controlling every day of our life, every moment of our life. Kala, therefore, is insurmountable. Therefore, it is inconceivable. Therefore, Vidura said, is insurmountable. Why insurmountable? You can only surpass or overcome something when you know something is controlling you. For example, if you have to bypass your manager's control, because you know manager is controlling, you'll figure out something. तुम जोर से 4 बार खास दोगे फोन पे बोलो कि मुझे लगता है कोविड का नया सिम्टम आ गया है. You know, something you will do it. Similarly, in a husband-wife relationship, or any relationship, but when you don't even know, it works in such a way that you can never realize the time is controlling. This is text number 1. That is a text number. The 6th quality. Time is insurmountable and inconceivable. You never even experience time is controlling. The personality God said, as a mass of clouds does not know the powerful influence of the wind, a person engaged in material consciousness does not know the powerful strength of the time factor by which he is being carried. I have always wondered about it. मेरे कॉलेज में जब मैं वेल्लोर में था तो हमारे एक सरदार जी थे, हमारे पाजी. I was a member, or I would say I was a founding member in our college of entrepreneurship. मुझे entrepreneurship का बहुत शौक था. हम कुछ अपना करेंगे, हम किसी के अंडर काम नहीं करेंगे, अपना वो सैकी नहीं है भाई. So हमने entrepreneurship club start करा था, and then we got this incubation center later on, which has been introduced in colleges. तो हमारे पाजी थे, पाजी सरदार जी, वो मुझसे 1 साल बड़ा था. बहुत हार्ड वर्किंग व्यक्ति, बहुत हार्ड वर्किंग व्यक्ति, too hard working. So one day, we were only 4 or 5 of us when we were getting into this initiative. One day, I got to know it's his birthday. Now, you know, as a college friend, what do you do on birthday? You'll go and say, happy birthday, oh, Paji, तुसी birthday, चलो आज पार्टी हो जाए. मैंने भी मजाक में बोल दिया. वो पाजी थोड़े सीरियस आदमी थे, मुझे डांट दिया, बोला किस चीज का बर्थडे, मेरे जीवन का 1 साल खत्म हो गया. And you know, I remember categorically, this was right outside the cafeteria. I was stand still. मैं कभी ये क्या बोल गया? ऐसा तो कभी सोचा ही नहीं. For the first time in my life, I had an experience of that time is destroying. वो मुझे डांट के चला गया. बोले, what birthday? No party. My 1 year in my life is gone. And I remember categorically, I can clearly see, I was standing there, little upset. You know, why he has to say like this yet? He could have said politely. A second. अरे हाँ यार, मेरे जन्मदिन में मेरा भी 1 साल खत्म हो जाता है. Can you imagine before coming to Krishna consciousness, even I don't know, before reading this section, how much you ever realize time is eating away your life. And in outside world, every day they celebrate birthday as if 1 year has added to their life. Yes or no? If you ever celebrated a birthday before, they celebrate as if something great has happened. Neither your birth is glorious, neither your life is glorious, nor a year has been added to our life. I mean, the whole perspective of evaluation is wrong. All right, okay. Let's go to text number 2. Answer 2. So that's the 6 characters. What is the 6th one? Inconceivable, insurmountable. Text number 2. Yam yamatam padate dukhena sukhetave tam dunoti bhagavan puma chochati yat krate. Very interesting. 7th characteristic. Time is the cause of lamentation. Beautiful, beautiful. So we are talking about 10, 10 characteristics of time. Seventh is time is the cause of lamentation. How time is the cause of lamentation? Lord Shri Krishna and Bhagavat. Hey, by the way, I was making a point now. हमने अभी जो 40 to 44 verse पढ़ा था, because of fear of the time, the sun rises, because of fear of the time of the Vishnu, the plants gives flowers, trees gives fruits, like that. What is the section in Bhagavad Gita? Anyone remembers? See, whenever you read philosophy now, always ask, because Krishna says, whatever I have to give you, or I have given you everything, it has to have its basis in Bhagavad Gita. Which section of Bhagavad Gita talks about this? Which chapter number? Okay, which section? Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga. Let's make it this way. Okay, Jnana Yoga. Good. Jnana Yoga has how many chapters? 6 chapters. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Quick, which chapter would have talked about it? If by this time I have so many times I have spoken Bhagavad Gita. If you remember what chapter does what, which chapter talks about what, which chapter of Bhagavad Gita talks about this concept? Anyone online? Any online devotees?
13th
Yes. Huh?
chapter? The 13th chapter?
But the 13th chapter is part of. Oh, by the way, yeah, 13th se start hota hai na? Correct. No, not 13th chapter, mother, not 13th chapter. This is being discussed in the 15th chapter, verses 12, 13, and 14. All right. This is where it's spoken about. Can anyone read out the translation quickly? 15.12, 13, 14, and 15th verses. So these are the 4 verses when Krishna says, how I maintain gross body, subtle body, and the soul of the living entity. 15.12. Whoever has found it, quickly start reading. Anyone online, offline?
Splendor of the sun.
But the point is, online audience will not get to hear you, na? Any online devotee can read out quickly? So their voice can go.
The splendor of the sun, which dissipates the darkness of the whole world, comes from me, and the splendor of the moon and the splendor of the fire are also from me.
Next. I hope all is audible to online devotees. Continue.
I enter into each planet, and by my energy they stay in orbit. I become the moon, and thereby supply the juice of life to all vegetables.
Next. I become the fire of the digestion.
I
am the taste of the food. Go ahead.
I am the fire of digestion in the bodies of all living entities, and I join with the air of life, outgoing and incoming, to digest the 4 kinds of foodstuffs.
All right, there's a section which is mapped here. Okay, all right, let's continue. Text number 2, lamentation. How time is the cause of lamentation? The answer goes in Bhagavad Gita also. What is the shloka from the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita talks about the nature of happiness in this world? How does it begin? 522? Yehi samsparsha jaboga dukha yoni evate adi antamanta kantya. It has a beginning and a end. That's the time. So time is the cause of lamentation because everything in this world gets destroyed. Because everything is covered over by matter. Even the soul is covered over by matter, which means even the living entity whom you may love, because being covered over matter, would eventually will cease to exist in that matter. That's how. Whatever is produced by the matter is great pain, labor, so-called happiness. The Supreme Personality as a time factor destroyed, and for this reason the conditioned soul lament. Not the body gets destroyed, the countries get destroyed. Look at the Second World War. When Germany started attacking Britain, the London that you have seen, if in case anyone of you have been to London, the London that you know of today, in 1944 was put to ashes. There was no building standing above ground floor. Everything was put to ashes. Everything was on the ground floor. Whole London was destroyed. Again, London rise. Like that, every time it keeps going on with matter. And then there's a natural function. Text number 3. Yat adrvasya dehasya sanubandasya durmatihi druvani manyate moha gruha kshetra vasunicha. Now, materialist life will be discussed, not of a devotee, so don't get disturbed. The misguided materialist does not know that his very body is impermanent. Adrvasya. Druvasya means permanent. सानुबंधस्य दुर्मति, दुर्मति, दुर्मति समझते हैं ना, मूर्ख, और दुर्मति misguided, mati means intelligence. The misguided metal does not know that his very body is impermanent and that the attraction of homeland wealth, which are in relation to that body, are also temporary. Art of ignorance only thinks that everything is permanent. Prabhupada writes in the Prabhupada, the materialists saying that Hare Krishna people are crazy because they're chanting Hare Krishna. Prabhupada said, but these fools and rascals don't know that you are crazy. You are in utter ignorance because our only asset is bhakti. That's the point here. Fine. Okay. Prabhupada writes in the last line of the paragraph, when all economic development and material advancement are utilized to advance the cause of Krishna consciousness, a new phase of progressive life arises. Then it is progressive, otherwise it is all going downwards. Section number 4. Now this is a very interesting verse. Tell me if you agree or not. I'm going to make a point. Verses 4 and 5. Before I tell you, let me ask this question. What do you think about when you see a dog wandering around the street? Is he enjoying his life, or do you think he's miserable? How many of you say is miserable? How many of you think the dog is enjoying his life? अबे तुम कुत्ते तो हो नहीं, तुम्हें कैसे पता कुत्ता एंजॉय कर रहा है? हाँ भाई, तुम्हारा दोनों का आंसर मुझे समझ नहीं आया यार. How can you give an answer with such a confidence? Dog is miserable, dog is enjoying. I mean, how much do you know beyond your scope? Oh yeah, see. Okay, let me ask this question. Okay, let me ask this question to you, and I'll come back to philosophy to prove you how you're wrong in your analysis. Let me ask this question. When you see people outside, or let's say when you see a young couple getting married, and then you see a regular photo of a brahmachari chanting japa, who looks more happy? Who looks more happy? Now, why probably you can say, what is the connection between young couple getting married and chanting? We are also getting married to japa only, na? We are supposed to chant, na? That's our married partner. We are supposed, Harinam is our married life partner. We are supposed to make. And how we deal with life partner? And you look at the young couple getting married. So, 13th chapter, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna very categorically say, Jivatma and Paramatma mein antar kya hai? Living entity only knows about this body, cannot know about what's happening with other. So, stop suggesting about others. Philosophically, you're totally wrong. You don't know about dog is enjoying or dog is suffering. Now, jokes apart, not jokes apart, it's a serious subject. Now, as an experienced man, you may share your perspective. But now when you share your perspective, the debate begins because half of you say happy, half of you say miserable. This is called as Anuman Praman. Now, how do you reconcile Anuman? You can reconcile Anuman with Shabda Praman. And what is the Shabda Praman says? There is a story comes of Indra being cursed to become a pig. Now we'll figure it out who is right in his Anuman. Okay. There is a story that comes that how Indra was once cursed to become a pig. And he had piglets. He was busy procreating. And for him, his Sunday feast was getting a hot stool. Hot stool means fresh stool. There is a cause of the call as wet stool, something called as dry stool. Wet stool, hot stool means freshly delivered. And dry stool means which has been, under the sun rays have got dried, which is old. So for a pig and his piglets and pig wife, the Sunday feast was finding some fresh mal like this. So Brahmaji came to Indra. He said, Indra, kya kar raha hai tu? Brahmaji saying, you're suffering. And Indra, while relishing the hot stool, I'm enjoying. So the point here is, in whatever bodily condition you are put into it, It takes an intelligence to understand I'm suffering. Are you getting it? For you also to realize you are suffering, it took a lot of effort for your teacher to convince you are suffering. Unless you were beaten down by material energy, and even if you were beaten down by material energy, the moment your challenge and the problem went away, again you forgot that you had any suffering. Yes or no? Now, how many of you here had fallen sick during COVID? Raise your hand. How many of you here had fallen sick during COVID? Okay, how many of you had had a fever in last 1 year, had to take medicine, and you were feeling very, that was very painful? Anyone if you remember that suffering today? This is the influence of Kala. Are you getting it? Now let's come to text number 4 and 5. I'm talking to my live audience, not sure if online project is getting anything what I'm speaking here today. I give myself a benefit of doubt that I'm communicating to them also. Okay. All right. Now let's take a look at text number 4 and 5. Okay. With that background. Jantur vai bhava tasmin yam yam yonim anuvrajit tasyam salabhate nirvatim na virajyate. Text number 4, translation. The living entity in whatever species of life he appears finds a particular type of a satisfaction in that species and is never averse to being situated in such a condition. What a heavy thing. I don't know if you get it, but I feel such a heaviness on my head while reading this only. So, Maya, who we call Maya Devi, has two particular functions. Please write down. What are the two functions of Maya? You know both of it, but maybe we have not identified as separate. Prabhupada writes in the Prabhupada. First function of Maya is Avran Atmika. Avran Atmika means Avran Karna, Dhak Dena. So first function of Maya is to cover us up, which means with forgetfulness. We go through experiences. When we are going through experiences, we are having certain feelings, emotions about it. The moment that experience gets over, we forget about what happened. This is first function of Avrana Atmika Maya. Second function of Maya is Prekshap Atmika. Prekshapa Atmika means pulling down. By its nature, if you don't strive to raise your consciousness by default, you without doing anything will become degraded. Because I'm trying to focus on experience today's session because it's all about our life. Let me ask this question to all of you. How many of you ever thought yourself to be very dharmic? मैं तो बहुत अच्छा लड़का हूँ. कुछ हो सकते हैं आप जानते हो कि मैं तो बड़ा ही बदमाश हूँ. But how many of you felt that I'm a very decent boy, very dharmic boy? मैं तो कुछ गलत काम करते ही नहीं. Any one of you ever felt like this? No, don't say as a devotee now. I'm saying before becoming a devotee. Now you will not say out of humility, and you will not dare to say also like this. I'm talking now. I think before ISKCON, how many of you felt? I was proud of myself. मैं तो बहुत अच्छा लड़का हूँ. मैं कुछ गलत काम नहीं करता. ना सिगरेट फूकता, ना शराब पीता हूँ, लड़के के साथ संबंध रखता हूँ. बाकी करते थे. I had arrogance on that. How many of you had that kind of, I don't know if you have a thought like this. How many of you had that? Right? Okay, all right. Many of you had it here. Okay, good. Now, if you go back at that situation, because I have had that experience, now, from this point of view, if you go back and think about that life, although you are not intentionally doing anything wrong, because you are not doing right, you are gradually becoming corrupted. How many of you agree you are becoming corrupted gradually? I can say for myself. This is called as pulling down. Prekshap Atmikaha. If you are not constantly making endeavor to fight Maya, Maya is going to pull you down. You will become degraded. It's just a matter of time. For example, when I went to America, I was living in America. I had my goal towards my project, and my manager had a personal goal towards me. तुझे तो मैं शराब और नॉनवेज खिला के रहूंगा. you know, because I used to be in meetings and they have to arrange a vegan food or some juice and all that. They बोला यार तो अमेरिका में आ गया अब तुझे हमारे जैसा अमेरिकन बनना पड़ेगा. So yeah. So for me, I kind of navigated this difficult path because I was already becoming a devotee, practicing devotee kind of a thing. This is the first initial few months. I definitely had a challenge. So I do remember, not with the manager, but I do remember with my friends. When I had this American and European friends, and at least for the first 6 months, I just had got a copy of Bhagavad Gita and I was reading, but I would once in a week would meet with them, and they had this whole party culture like that. Now, I had not ever had that experience before. Some parties, but not wild parties like they would have it, drink and all that. So I remember this is 2007, and September I moved. The first time that I had tried a drink there, and I believe that was the last time, was on the 31st December. They have this New Year party. So they had thrown this New Year party, and if you don't go, then you're an outcast kind of a thing. There was a lot of social pressure. So I remember going there. And now when I look back and I think, I said I was so proud of myself. मैं तो बहुत अच्छा लड़का हूँ. मैं कोई बुरे काम नहीं करता हूँ. I went and I drank that night just to out of experience. क्या है इसमें करके? And then if I look at it, just after that incident, after a month or so, there was Gaur Purnima, and then I got to meet Vasana Swami Maharaj, and his talk really inspired me. And then I immediately enrolled into Bhagavad Gita because I was trying to read from the last 5-6 months. Bhagavad Gita समझ ही नहीं आ रही थी. I was trying to do, but I couldn't take into any practice. And then I had never had to go back to that association. But I'm just telling you, if imagine I would not have got that association, my gliding down had already begun. Yes or no? It's just a matter of time. How do you say no to association for so long? And then it starts with alcohol. I can tell you about all my college friends. They're sitting there, they're eating everything now. Then alcohol के संग कोई ना कोई तुम्हें पनीर टिक्का के नाम पे कोई कुछ खिलाई देता कोई और टिक्का. So that how gliding on. So that's the nature. So Avratmika and Prekshapaatmika. We all have that experience. These are the two things we need to be conscious of. We need to be always fighting. Therefore, Prabhupada said, you begin your day with chanting the holy names of the Lord. So you'll keep your intelligence sharp, you'll remain alert, and read scriptures. Because when you read scriptures, then you have this Shastra Chakshu. You see the world from the point of view of Shastra, not from the point of view of Anuman. Kutta khush hai, kutta dukhi hai. All right? Anuman chhod dena chahiye. Text number 5. So the verse which we are discussing 4 and 5 is a living entity put into any situation, any special life, it tries to get settled with it. And then they write song. Kabhi khushi, kabhi gam, tararam pam, tararam pam. And we have said this is how the life is. You have to live like this. Text number 5. Narkastopi deham vai napumam tyaktam ichchati narkayam nirvatau satyam Deva Maya Vimohita. The conditional living is satisfied in his own particular spiritual life, is deluded by the covering influence of the illusion energy. He feels little inclined to cast off his body even when in hell, for he takes delight in hellish enjoyment. Let me ask this question to you. How many of that experience? Now, when you see karmis walking around, I don't know if you, of course, that would be too much to demand and think of it at this point of time. But even if not that way, but let's say you walk around, you see, and because you know that you have been told to go and preach, maybe the compassion may not rise because that's an advanced stage. When you see people suffering, when you say people suffering, what do you mean by people suffering? आग में जल रहे हैं, रोड पे एक्सीडेंट हो गया, suffering का मतलब क्या है? When you see people not practicing Krishna consciousness, then you see that is suffering. That is how an enlightened person sees anyone and everyone. Therefore, he sees any and every opportunity. How can I give him Krishna consciousness? Because she is suffering. He is going down to the hellish condition of life. So my question to you is, even if how much ever we have understood, we are practicing now, let's say you go for book distribution. And this realization when somebody gets, when understanding when he gets that with the absence of Krishna consciousness, they're suffering, that is a time that such a person gives us life and soul for preaching. Life and soul for preaching. Because he knows that this is the greatest charity that I can do. I need to go out and give them. And I'm not saying others cannot do, others can also do. They may have other objectives because somebody loves teaching, somebody loves talking to people, somebody does love preaching, or whatever other reasons. But this is one genuine platform. So my question to you, when you've gone out for, let's say, book distribution, Have you ever had that experience or realization? Yeah, these people are suffering, they're not understanding only. Any one of you? Ever had that experience? Okay. And even if you tell them, even if you see, how many of you have seen people on the street when you're doing book distribution or something, they look so sad, so morose, visible on their face that this person, he or she is going through so much troubles in his or her life. And then you want to give them some hope in their life. Yet they will say, nahi, nahi, sab theek hai. They'll not accept it. This is the point which is mentioned. Deluded by the covering influence of the illusion, he feels little inclined to cast off this body. Now, this is a very important subject for brahmacharis. The grass on the other side always looks greener. Grahasthas are looking across in the balcony of brahmacharis. Kitne khush hain. And brahmachari, if he's not developed shastra chakshu, is looking in the grahastha balcony. कितने मुस्कुरा रहे हैं. सुबह सुबह नई नई गरम गरम हर्बल टी मिल जाती है. नॉट टी, पर हर्बल टी गरम गरम मिल जाती है. मुझे जाके बनानी पड़ती है. यू नो. और पीछे कितने सारे फॉलोअर्स हैं, घूमते रहते हैं पापा पापा करके. मेरा कोई आश्रम में सुनता ही नहीं, मेरी कोई इज्जत ही नहीं है. You know, so it looks like the grass is always. So we have to always understand it is not like that. It's not like that. Now, how the grass on the other side is not greener but wet, the following verse will talk about, right? Right. So that was section number 5. I hope this is clear. Fourth and fifth verse is clear. In any spiritual life, because of this covering potency of the Maya or material energy, the living entity forgets how he or she is suffering. Text number 6 onward. Oh, sorry, I got a little bit in details here today. It's about to be 9. Let's see. I'll take few verses, then we'll cover the rest of the verses next time. Text number 6. The question is, why? If he's suffering, why? Okay, let me ask this question to you. You know, this is very important for us to ask why. This is a sign of intelligence. How many of you, of course, this is not for devotees, this is for materialists, huh? Because when you talk about married life, then immediately Grahastha things, we're talking Grahastha. We're not talking Grahastha. You know, married life is not only for Grahastha, that is also Grahamadi. So just to make a disclaimer here. So a Grahastha can also think in this direction. Now, how many of you have seen, husband-wife fighting? Please raise your hand. Mummy, Papa ko dekha hai na? And how many of you have heard father saying, "Kahan phas gaya main? Kyun shaadi kari maine? Galti ho gayi." How many of you heard this? And 6 घंटे के बाद 4 घंटे सब भूल जाते हैं. And you feel like, यार तुम लोग कुछ seriously भी बोला करो. कुछ तो वचन के कुछ तो मूल्यांकन होना चाहिए. Some value should be there. And how many times you have heard mother saying, "बस बहुत हो गया, मैं जा रही हूँ अपनी माँ के पास." Sometimes, kind of, maybe mother will not say that if that's not our culture like this. But while growing up, have you ever thought, when you're fighting so much, why should I get married? And the same parents come and say, "Beta, शादी की उम्र हो गई है, नया face. You should get married." Please, I'm not saying anything for the Grahasthas. Huh? Grahasthas are very wonderful devotees. They never fight. Sometimes they fight, maybe. Even if they fight, sometimes it is only for the service of Krishna, nothing else. The wife is saying, "I will offer bhoga." Husband saying, "Arey, why you always offer bhoga? Sometimes allow me to also offer bhoga." That is only subject matter of fight. Wife is saying, "Arey, you always chant 64 rounds. I never get a chance to chant even 2 extra rounds. So now today I will chant." No. So this is only subject matter they fight. I'm not talking about this. Okay, I'm saying in general. I'm talking about how we see things. Now, how many of you have seen in your relation or others how parents have to struggle while raising a child? How many of you agree it's a challenge? Ashish Prabhu, you're going through personal experience. Is it a challenge in today's world to raise a child? I mean, there is a love and affection, without a doubt. But is it a challenge? How many of you bachelors have seen this? Have seen it? But still, hum to shadi karenge. The point here is, this is what has been discussed here. Of course, I'm not talking about devotees. Devotees get married with the due understanding. They understand, we're going to come together and serve. In general, it's not that you and I are seeing. Is the master sees this or not? We need a bhakti to help us understand. Before bhakti, we're not seeing this. But look what happens it is. This particular verses, 4th and 5th verse we're talking about, even we are seeing suffering. yet we continue to live in thinking this is good life. The question comes, despite knowing it, why still he continues to suffer? One is आपका क्या कहते हैं आवरणात्मिका, covering potency. How does covering potency manifest? That is verse number 6. Please pay attention. Atmajaya sutagara pashurevena bandhushu riddhamula hridaya atmana bahumanyate. Such satisfaction with one's standard of living is due to deep attraction, deep-rooted, not deep-rooted attraction for one's own body, for wife, home, children, animals, wealth, and friends. In such association, the conditioned soul thinks himself quite perfect. Quite perfect. Therefore, he just doesn't know there is another way of living life, or I can live some way differently. Now, think about it. Now, have you seen your manager getting frustrated sometime? Now, point is, maybe Ashish will be better positioned to help me answer this. Maybe those are online. When you are new in a corporate ladder, you have different level of pressure. You maybe have executive pressure. Executive means you have to execute tasks. But higher you rise in the position, then you don't have only pressure of executing the work, but you also have pressure of management. So Ashish, being the most senior person here in professional life here, no doubt struggle is 24/7 in this life. But do you agree those who rise higher, they have far greater struggle and different struggle than those who are underneath him? And they have more mental stress? Yes. That fellow is going through all this pressure. Does he know or not that I'm rising the ladder, I'm buying more stress? But the moment his boss comes and says, you're promoted. Yes? This is what this verse is saying. Why would you accept suffering with open hand? Yes, I'm happy. Why? Because he's attached to wealth, he's attached to home. Deep-rooted attachment thinks, the more possession, I'll be happy. Are you getting the point? And I'll give you an example. There was this Nityanand Prabhu. I've given the example before also. Chicago Temple president. His wife is the president there now. I mean, I was so amazed. I was myself a professional in those days in America. And he said, my boss wanted to give me a promotion. 5 साल से promotion के मेरे पीछे मेरा boss दौड़ रहा है. मैंने कहा यार दुनिया बड़ी विचित्र है. From last 5 years, his boss is running behind him to take promotion. Everyone else runs behind boss to give promotion. So I said, Prabhuji, why your boss is running behind promotion and why are you not taking promotion? He said, if I take promotion, I know very well. Means the promotion means more responsibility. Yes, they're giving you more salary. Do you think they're giving salary for free? Promotion means more responsibility. And I know that in that responsibility, I'll be forced to travel every week out. And because every week I'll have to travel out, my whole devotional life will be disturbed. Therefore, from last 5 years, I'm saying, no promotion, no. This is intelligence. Why? Because the devotee can see the truth. Are you getting it? As the devotees, we can make the right choices, but you will not see Karmi making those right choices. Karmi may at times may make that choice, but it could be in a situation that the family doesn't want it. He comes back to the family says, no. He may want because more when the family says no. Just like imagine, let's say Ashish Prabhu gets a job offer from Chennai. He's getting, let's say, double salary over there. Fantastic. He comes back to the family. Family says, no, we're not going to move because हमारे बच्चों की education का सवाल है. हमारे बच्चे 11th, 12th में आ गए हैं. Let them finish. Otherwise, if we move now, the education will be disturbed. Now, Ashish Prabhu in that situation says, no, that's not because he has understood the truth. Are you getting it? He's saying no to that offer is because, again, attachment to family. So there's a difference in how. So that's the point. So devotees act differently. So we have to see on what basis is acting. Fine, let's make this last verse for today. Text number 7. Sandhyamana sarvanga esham udvanadhina karoti aviratam mudhu duritani durashraya. Although he is always burning with anxiety, this is non-devotees, huh? Such a fool always perform all kind of mischievous activities with a hope which is never to be fulfilled in order to maintain his so-called family and society. Look at the first line of the purport. It is said that it is easier to maintain a great empire than to maintain a small family. I have no experience of either of it, nor I'm the king of an empire, nor I have a small family or big family. Those of you who may be in that situation, you think about it. Prabhupada is quoting here. Especially in these days when the influence of Kali Yuga is so strong that everyone is harassed and full of anxieties because accepting the false presentation of Maya's family. The family we maintain is created by Maya. It is a perverted reflection of the family in Krishna Loka. In Krishna Loka, there are also family, friends, society, father, and mother, everything is there, but they're eternal. Here, as we change our body, the family relationship also change. Sometimes we are in a family of human beings, sometimes in a family of devatas, a family of cats, or the family of dogs. Family, society, friendship are flickering and so they are called asat. It is said that as long as we are attached to this asat, temporary, non-existing society and family, we are always full of anxieties. The materialists do not know that the family, society, friendship here in this material world are only shadows, and thus they become attached. Naturally, their hearts are always burning. But in spite of all inconvenience, they will still work to maintain such false families because they have no information of the real family association with Krishna. This is again for non-devotees. How does devotee deals with the family, or how does devotee see as a family? He sees this as an obligation, as a responsibility on behalf of the Lord to take care of everyone. Everyone is a part and parcel of the Lord. So that's the context. But in the case of a karmi, that is not the understanding. The understanding in the case of karmi is, how can I enjoy, get benefit? And if that benefit stops, divorce, get out. All right, so we'll pause here. Text number 8 talks about what is an impetus? What is an impetus for a karmi to continue working like this? I guess we should conclude the 8th verse because this concludes this family discussion. आक्षिप्तात्म वैसे 15 का तो छुट्टी है ना, ठीक है, 5-10 मिनट में आगे चला गया तो कोई श्राप नहीं देगा. All right. आक्षिप्तात्मेन्द्रिय स्त्रीणाम असितना चा मायया रचित्या आलापै शिशुना कालभाषिणा. 2 चीज इसमें जोड़ दी गई है, स्त्रीणाम and shishunam. And I'll give you, go into some introspection, food for thought, and introspect within your heart how much attraction we have for these two, Strinam and Shishunam. And both look so attractive. A Stri can replace it for a man, vice versa. No man can deny his attraction for female because this is the law of nature. You know, there is only one person who can deny this, that is Narayan Rishi. Every living entity which is born in this world has an attraction. Doesn't matter you are a monk, you are a sannyasi, who are. Only thing is, by engaging everything in Krishna service, our attachment gets or attraction gets purified, and we begin to see them as mothers. We begin to see them as part and parcel of the Lord, as we see every living entity. Because this attraction that we talk about, materialistic attraction, is nothing but exploitation. So as your service attitude increases, your exploitation reduces. That's the whole. If you want to defeat lust, let me make this point clear. I said before also, if you want to defeat lust, you're fighting with lust, you're struggling with lust, you got to think about your service attitude. The only way to defeat lust is cultivating service attitude. Lust is equivalent to exploitation. To the degree we give up our selfishness, this is particularly for brahmacharis, those who are so self-absorbed, self-centered, those who just they just cannot see anything beyond themselves. They don't last for long. You know, you got to sooner or later have to develop a spirit of compassion, of giving out to others, taking care of others. Therefore, I've been emphasizing again and again, you guys have to have preaching programs where you start taking care of people, then you will understand. Otherwise, you think just sitting at home in our high-class chanting, the lust will go away. It's never going to happen. Lust is inversely proportional to love. To the degree we develop love for Krishna means love for everyone. To the degree we develop love, that degree, lust will go away. There is no other way of getting rid of lust. It's impossible. So service attitude. Seva? Yes. Seva? Yes. And doing seva with responsibility, with details, not superficially. If superficial is your kaam, unfortunately, these fellows, they just cannot. Even if you're thinking become better off in dealing with lust, be very careful. It was a moment of time. when that you will be beaten up. It will not take even a fraction of a second for you to get contaminated again. So dangerous, so dangerous. And you have everything on the tip of your finger these days. One wrong website, one wrong click. Once a picture flashes of an opposite gender, improperly dressed. If Ajamul, a high-class Brahmana, can get contaminated, he was a Brahmana by birth. He had all that training. Apna kya hai? Apna kya hai? You know? I deal with all the IT stuff. I know. You know, I'll not quote this. One very senior devotee, he was handling Sankarshan Das Adhikari Prabhu's laptop to do something because I wasn't there. So he was handling it and trying to do it. And suddenly he went onto some website, news website or something. Now he has not been on news website for a while. And this was some American news web or something. And there was a photo of a lady in a swimsuit or something, which he has not seen for a long time. He said, I came back and for a second, I was shocked. You know, when you kept yourself, I'm not indicating the body of a woman to be impure. I'm not saying that. But half-naked woman is an impurity for men, for a chaste. Chastity is not only for women, it's also for a man. You know, so when you see a half-naked woman, it creates impurity. And that he was saying, I was so shocked and stunned because he hasn't seen like this for a while, for a long time. So when you see, now imagine if in case that would have happened in privacy. ठीक है, बंद करके चले गए. But you know, the thought gets captured here. And if in case you don't have seva, think about it. If you don't have seva, what will happen? See, if you have seva, mind thinks about seva, yes or no? Mind will be forced to think about it. If you don't have seva, what will mind do? This is a deep-rooted attachment to opposite gender. It doesn't matter how many years you're practicing bhakti. It just doesn't matter. Don't think like, wo chala gaya, wo superficially chup gaya hai. There's a deep-rooted, you know, this verse says deep-rooted attachment. That deep-rooted attachment for opposite gender, sorry to say that, but I can make the facts here clear. The bodily attraction of the female, for a man, bodily attraction to a female is very strong. So we have to be very careful with that. So if that goes inside in the head, and if he doesn't have some service, meaningful service, where he really puts his head, if he has trained up, if he has taken a training in Brahmachari ashram just to do things superficially, bola, tak 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 kar diya. If he's going to remain absent-minded, which means, you know what? Your mind is going to then think about that. Because all three have done service absent-minded only. Therefore, I get so heavy with brahmacharis here when they do this kind of lackadaisical thing. Sometimes you wonder, why am I getting so angry with brahmacharis? You guys are not understanding it. You have taken up service, put your heart into it. If you don't do it, your heart will go into here only. Because your heart is soaked into it. It is not that by just chanting things will come out like this. And that I don't understand what these people are. You devote brahmacharis or you're a paid employees? When you do your service, you don't put a heart into it. Sometimes people say, Prabhuji, you do everything neat and clean. No, I put my heart into it because you need to put it. If I don't put my heart into it, you know where my heart now is. And you don't have to tell me where your heart into is now, if you're not putting your heart into details into service. So if he has cultivated this habit of doing services with absent-minded, you know, lectures sunte hue seva kar raha hai, kuch kar raha hai karke. I remember I was driving a car while hearing a kirtan. Bhagavat was sitting behind. He chastised me. I said, what are you doing? I said, and I was singing kirtan by then. He said, your seva right now is to drive. Don't get distracted. Because we do so much multitasking na, we think, जब हम public forum में आते हैं ना, सबसे ज़्यादा Krishna consciousness मुझे तभी होना चाहिए. Baba, learn to do one thing at a time properly. I'm just got distracted on the topic, but the last topic came, so I just started sharing some things. I'm amazed people keep struggling after years with it. This is the only reason. Don't blame the process, don't blame the chanting. And this holds true entirely true for grasthas also. Not that grasthas are free from lust. Lust is for everyone because the law of nature. Doesn't matter you're brahmachari or grastha 40 years, 50 years. You become 60-year-old grastha, you still have that problem. If not handled it properly, if you not know how to handle it. So put your heart and do it nicely. Start taking care of others. You cultivate your service attitude, love for Krishna will develop. Lust will automatically begin to reduce because lust is equivalent to exploitation. Unless we give up this exploitation tendencies and mentality, which only can happen when you have cultivated proper service attitude. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. So that's the training. This is one training, theoretical things we're talking about it, but something has to be in action. Therefore, I have so many times said, every one of you should have one service which you call, this is my service. And there should be accountability and report for that service. How are you making it better than previous week or previous month? Every month I send reports of what I'm doing. Why am I sending report? Nobody's asking me. I mean, they may tell me once in a while, but they're not demanding. Why do I send it? Because that maintains my accountability to say, Prabhu, I have done something better than last time, or I'm doing something, so I can get a feedback. How do we do services? I don't know what all we have heard from Bhakti Shastri. We are reading Prabhupada. We want to hear so many lectures. I don't know what we hear lectures or what goes into the system. Never ever a report has come to me, even for all of you who are serving here, that Prabhuji, this is what I've done in my last 6 months. These were my services. This is what I'm planning to do. Please help me. Is it the right direction? Okay. Despite many of you having a dedicated service. I don't know. Anyways, and I'm very clear about these things from day one. I've never missed my words about it. You're a new audience, old audience, I'm straightforward in this matter. Kuch fark hi nahi padta yaar. How will you make progress? And how will you chant being awake while chanting? Half the time we are sleeping otherwise. It's just because mind is somewhere else. Fine. So I don't know from where to where I went. Stri Naam and Shishu Naam. I guess we should continue this. Shishu pe baad bhi aata. I'll come on Shishu afterwards, right? So it's getting late. So Stri Naam and Shishu Naam, there's so much attraction, deep-rooted attraction to both of this. Is there anyone who doesn't like kids? Not your kids, other kids. दूसरे के बच्चे अच्छे लगते हैं ना हमेशा, क्योंकि उसका साफ हमें नहीं करना पड़ता ना. हाँ जी, this is the fact. This is what Kapil Dev is saying here. And when you remain attracted to the child, then I'll tell you, ये दिल मांगे अपना भी होना चाहिए. Again, just to say, brahmacharis have to be very careful while they deal with kids. Don't get too close to kids because these are deep-rooted things. If you start pampering, fiddling around with kids, particularly you got to be very careful with Grihastha Ashram, unless you're mature enough to deal with Grihastha Ashram. Understand? We have all the reasons to get distracted. Deep-rooted attachment with women. So you're talking too much with a woman. When you're not life partners or when you're not living together, everyone when he goes out speaks nicely. And when you hear the sweet voices, then you'll think, हाँ, कितना अच्छा है. हमारे प्रभु बहुत डांटते हैं. हमें तो डांट खाने को मिलती है आश्रम में. यहाँ पे कितना अच्छा है. वो देखो उनका बच्चा कितना क्यूट है. क्यूटी. गोदी में भी नहीं लेंगे. डर लगता है. कहीं शिशु ना कहते. शिशु नहीं क्या कहते हैं? शुशु राइट. सुसु जो भी है समझ गए ना आप. वो ना कर दे. गोदी में भी नहीं लेंगे. We make sure with the parent. डायपर पहना रखा है. हाँ फिर दे दो. So be careful. Don't unnecessarily get close to kids. These are things. See, it's mentioned. You want me to read translation? He gives her heart and sense to a woman who falsely charms him with Maya. He enjoys solitary embraces, talking with her. He is enchanted by the sweet words of the small children. You may not have a life partner, but you will do it in your mind. सोचने में क्या जाता है? Mind सोचेगा ही. कितने का कॉलेज में ऐसे हुआ करता था? तुम दूसरों को बोलते तुम नहीं तो दूसरा तुम्हें बोलता था तेरी भाभी आ रही है सामने से. आ रही है ऐसा. नो आई सॉ इट माय कॉलेज लाइफ. मैं कहा यार अच्छा यार तुमने तो अभी से ब्रह्मचारी बना दिया. सब हमारी भाभी है. They had this. Sorry, the congregation also said it, but all of you also had a college life. You could have seen it. I'm just saying this is what goes on. So when Kapil Dev is saying there's such a deep-rooted attachment, we got to be careful. Therefore, Prabhupada said, deal only in relationship with engage and seva. Brahmacharis, coming to Brahmachari, because it's a very important verse for Brahmacharis, you got to find you have to first of all build your family life within Brahmachari Ashram. Brahmachari Ashram is your house, is your family. And if you don't have good dealings with you, I'm telling you, it ain't going to work. If you don't treat yourself as brothers, it's just not going to work. Trust me. It's a sooner or later, you will begin to feel frustrated. If you don't see each other as brother. How many of you there when on one particular evening I chastised some of you here? I was very strong. I said, how dare you do not call that brahmachari for the class when this brahmachari is staying alone there. And you people have come in front of me sitting here and the class was announced 1 hour ago. And if I have started my prayers, isn't your responsibility to see where is your brother? Who two were there? 2 or 3 of you were there. Did you had any sense? Why did I chastise you? I said, if you really felt this person is my brother, would you not wonder Prabhu has called for brahmachari class here? Where is my brother? No worry, no wonder. अपने अपने लैपटॉप खोल के बैठ गए. So ठीक है, we're still young in brahmachari ashram, but if you want to live a brahmachari, this is your house, this is your family. You need to love and care for each other. We have to give up this idea about I. So this is a balance we have to draw. Similarly, for the community, for the families, you got to see your community as your family. A question I'll conclude with this. A question was asked to His Holiness Adana Swami Maharaj. What is the greatest blessing in the life of a devotee? The ability for him to chant, for his taste in reading, the opportunity to do deity service, or his ability to preach fantastically, make many devotees, or become a wonderful kirtaniya, or क्या कहते हैं, book distributor. This is what we would call it. Somebody is famous on YouTube is a better devotee. Somebody sings nice is a better devotee. That's how somebody who distributes more books is a better devotee. That's a neophyte way of looking at things. Maharaj said, the greatest blessing in the life of a devotee is shelter of community. Shelter of community. Now, this answer is coming not from His Holiness Radhana Swami Maharaj as Maharaj, is coming from the experience-filled life where he saw New Vrindavan rising up to the highest pinnacle. Highest pinnacle, pinnacle is the highest point, rising to the pinnacle of community and then crashing down. And then Maharaj building a community from nothing to raising ISKCON Chapati to the highest standard and making everyone sustainable and stable after 20, 30, 40 years, where all the senior congregation is very easy to get distracted. They will hear one good lecture from another person, they'll say, this is our guru. This is just bystander. You know, their loyalty just keeps on wearing. For a few months with this Prabhu, with this Mataji, they keep on doing window shopping. It happens to a lot with them. Similarly with brahmacharis, we have human nature like this. I said the greatest blessing is have a shelter at community, which means you have a community which you find as yourself is my family. It's a food for thought. Think about it. It's a very serious thing. You may do whatever you want to do at the end of the day, or you may do whatever you want to do now. If you have not learned to dedicate, invest your energy and effort towards the community and have reciprocated properly there, you'll find yourself at the end of the day all alone. There won't be anyone people around. There won't be much people around you. I, as a leader, may say that I have so many devotees or have helped making some devotees. Eventually, everyone will leave. My shelter should not be my dependence. My shelter should be my peers and my seniors. So similarly, all of us have to find who is our shelter giver and where are we taking shelter. This was from Maharaj. So our strength, our blessing, the highest blessing for a devotee is the shelter of community. So maybe, I don't know, maybe you might have observed why I place so much emphasis. First, priority to community. What community wants it? Then we'll talk about each other like that. So that's the whole idea. That's the whole thing. Okay, all right, I'll pause here. Sorry, I really took a lot of time on your happy Independence Day celebration. You might have to have your ways to celebrate Independence Day. If not, I'm joking. It's time for prasadam. All right, so we conclude. Any questions or any comments here? Well, we have some time. We can take some questions. If any thoughts somebody has. And text number 9 onward we'll read later on.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I wanted to know about the third canto. Are we completing third canto chapters 33 till 33?
Are we completing? What is the question of your question, mother?
No. I wanted to know after the 33 chapters of Canto 3, are we starting Canto 4 or is it going to be continued?
Okay. Now your question changed from the first question that you asked. Okay. Are we going for the fourth canto? I, frankly speaking, now, I have my, what do you say? Every year I have my planner. So for this year, whatever I had to do in terms of Bhakti Shastri batches is over. For my next 2 years, I'm dedicating myself 100% to Bhagavatam now, because I gave enough time for Bhagavad Gita and other things. But with my tons of services around, I just couldn't do justice to Bhagavatam. So post Janmashtami, I'm getting into Bhagavatam. Now, when I get into Bhagavatam, with given time, I'm definitely starting Bhakti Vaibhav. Would I have time for Friday morning class to continue this? I have no idea for that, Madan. But one class I'm definitely continuing, starting is Bhakti Vaibhav, which means 3 hours. One study slot will have on one of the days of the week. So that much I'm committing. But apart from that, if I'll have time for this, I'm really not sure. We'll see how as the services and responsibilities evolves. We'll see with that. So with Evolve Pune, while
Thank you.
evolving, we'll see how it happens.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay. But if you wish, you can join that, where we're going to go some details of study of Bhagavatam. Then you can hear with that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Mother Chintamani, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, you said a very vital point about building a community. So, can you give us some idea how we go around building that community, which is going to be
Building that community is not, frankly speaking, not everyone's, this thing. Is a tremendous burden of love. Everyone is not easy to say building community, I would say. First, I would say let's begin with if we are properly sheltered in our relationship, because building community, it has to come as an instruction, because this is huge as a service. It's not, just starting a Zoom program and giving some lecture. So if in case we have been instructed for it, because with instruction comes empowerment, then we can go about taking this, because it all starts with baby steps. If I just give you a little brief, looking back in our life at Hinjawadi, starting and struggling with those Thursday evening Tamanna programs, where there used to be all floating audience. People will come next week, no idea which will be the next audience. And even if people came there, they only came to eat khichdi. It's called khichdi. Can you imagine after your hectic work day, 7 o'clock, you come and hear Bhagavad Gita class? हमारे अच्छे खासे भक्त जिनको गारंटीड प्रसाद मिलेगा, कंफर्टेबली बैठे हुए हैं, वो तो भगवद गीता क्लास में सो जाते हैं. कैन यू इमेजिन वर्किंग वीक में नॉन डिवोटी आके वो भगवद गीता क्लास अटेंड करेगा? एंड दैट टू दैट अनदर एंजाइटी. 8 बजे जैसे तैसे क्लास खत्म हो जाएगी. 8 बजे उनकी इसका इन्फोसिस की बस छूटती थी. एंड अवर क्लास कैन नॉट स्टार्ट बिफोर 7 o'clock बिकॉज दे कैन नॉट कम बिफोर 7 o'clock. 8 बजे बस छूटनी है तो जैसे तैसे सांप फैलाने से क्लास खत्म होनी है 7:45 बिकॉज देन दे हैव टू गेट देयर डिनर लाइक दैट. And that 45 minutes, I mean, it was such a horrible. You guys remember, right? We did Tamanna program with some of you. So Pranjal came from that program only. I don't know, Pranjal, if you were ever in that room. So first room that I did program for 1 year was this Tamanna Hotel first floor. First floor का room इस size का होगा, छोटा सा या इससे थोड़ा बड़ा. Were you ever went that? You ever went to that kind of a thing? Yeah, वो पता नहीं क्या बोलूं, क्या लगता था. मैं जाके निराश हो जाता था वहां पर. मैं सोचता था मैं क्या करने आ गया हूं भारत में, ये कहाँ भेज दिया गया है. इतनी निराशजनक जगह थी ना. दैट वाज अ बार और समथिंग, एंड वहां पे नॉन वेज और सर्व करते होंगे तो फिल्ड विद नेगेटिव एनर्जी. और ये तो वो है सॉफ्ट वाइट, वहां पे वार्म वाइट लाइट थी, वो भी बल्ब जो फ्यूज होने की स्थिति में थे. इतनी बुरी दशा होती थी ना. चलो वो भी ठीक है, टॉलरेट कर लो एनवायरमेंट. और हमारे ऑडियंस के चमकते हुए शक्लों को देख के तो इतना उत्साह आता था ना मेरे जीवन में. और वहां पे फिर प्रवचन तो बालगोविंद प्रभु वेंट फॉर सम टाइम, बोले अच्छा हो गया मेरा तो भाई, तुम्हारे लिए प्ले ग्राउंड में जाओ, ट्रेनिंग लो अपनी. It cannot started like that way. And I was told in the beginning, not even to make devotees, because this project was not giving any devotee. I was just sent, go and make well-wishers. And I was coming to make well-wishers. And I was thinking, which kind of well-wishers I am making? After the class, I only used to have 2 kinds of questions. प्रभु जी क्या कहते हैं, प्रसादम कब शुरू होगा, पहला. और दूसरा क्वेश्चन होता था लेडीज का. नहीं सॉरी, लेडीज नहीं, 2 क्वेश्चन. लेडीज का क्वेश्चन होता था शादी को लेकर. आई एम सीरियसली टेलिंग यू, दिस वाज माय, दिस इज गोइंग ऑन यूट्यूब. ये हटाओ, इसको बंद करो सब.